Red alert for Donald Trump. Donald Trump and his campaign are suddenly panicking about early voter data, realizing they were celebrating far too early, and now it is pandemonium at Trump HQ as they are starting to see the election slip away. With every single day, we receive more positive early voting data for Vice President Kamala Harris, and Trump is imploding at rally after rally. My name is Brett Meiselas here with the MeidasTouch Network. Be sure to subscribe and help us get to 3.5 million subscribers so that we could reach as many people as possible. Here's the big story right now from Puck. Inside Mar-a-Lago, Pennsylvania anxiety, Chief of Staff games, and Czar RFK Jr. The Trump campaign has paused its premature celebration and fallen into sweat mode as early voting numbers indicate more women are turning up than men in must-win Pennsylvania, and operatives are bringing out the briefcases for lawfare. They are going so crazy here, says a source. Let me just read you a little bit of this. We're less than a week away from Election Day, and the mood inside the Trump campaign has undergone yet another transformation. Last week, I reported on the preemptive but undeniably palpable sense of euphoria washing over Mar-a-Lago as data rolled in depicting early voting surges in Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina. But now, as the early results from Pennsylvania reveal an influx of first-time female voters who will likely break for Harris, a newfound anxiety is taking hold. While Trump continues to claim he has a massive lead, setting the stage to contest any unfavorable result, some in the Mar-a-Lago sphere are starting to believe that his surge last week was 2 weeks premature. Donald Trump's campaign manager, Chris LaCivita, responded to this in a very panicked way, if I do say so myself. LaCivita wrote, "Actually, this bullshit tweet is a result of the fact that famed gossip columnist Tara Palmieri, the writer of this piece, was denied credentials to enter Mar-a-Lago to cover election night due to her, quote, proclivity to write bullshit." Well, Chris LaCivita certainly seems concerned to me. And here is some of the early voting data in swing states by gender. And this is what is causing the Trump campaign right now to panic. We see in Arizona, women at 52% of the votes, men 46%. In Nevada, women 50%, men 48%. In Pennsylvania, women 56%, men 44%. In Georgia, 56% women, 44% men. In North Carolina, women 55%, men 45%. In Michigan, 55% women, 45% men. And in Wisconsin, 55% women, 45% men. But that's not all. Democratic enthusiasm throughout the country is surging. Not only is it surging, it is higher right now than it was in 2008 when Barack Obama was the nominee. Wow. And it is 10 points higher than the GOP. 77% of registered Democrats say that they are enthusiastic about the election compared to 67% for Republicans. Also, Simon Rosenberg has some data for us. Simon Rosenberg says, with Target Early's latest update, despite GOP efforts, Dems are now running ahead of their 2020 share of the early vote in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nebraska's 2nd District, and Wisconsin. With 5 days to go, if there is a party winning the early vote, it is clearly the Democrats. Simon also added, Republicans cannot be happy with what they are seeing in the early vote. They should be doing better than 2020 in the battleground states and just aren't. Harris and Dem organizational superiority is showing up in the early vote. And that's not all. The Trump campaign also has to be very concerned about this from Politico. Trump lagging an early vote with seniors in Pennsylvania, a red flag for the GOP. Let me read you a little bit from this. Donald Trump is lagging Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania early voting with a critical and once reliably Republican constituency, seniors. It's a warning sign for the former president that reflects early vote data and polling across the battlegrounds after Republicans won the senior vote in each of the last 5 presidential elections. In Pennsylvania, where voters over the age of 65 have cast nearly half of the early ballots, registered Democrats account for about 58% of votes cast by seniors, compared to just 35% for Republicans. That's despite both parties having roughly equal numbers of of registered voters aged 65 and older. And it doesn't stop there. The Detroit News is reporting that Detroit City Clerk Janice Winfrey said that she is expecting turnout in the city of Detroit to be higher in 2024 than it was in 2020. That's more good news for Vice President Kamala Harris and the Democrats. So what are Trump and the Republicans doing? They are going to the 2020 playbook. As MeidasTouch editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski says, we've all seen their playbook already. They showed it to us in 2020. They claim for months they are dominating all the polls and are winning big everywhere. Also, they could claim fraud when it doesn't happen. But we are ready for them this time. This shit is tired and played out. Somebody by the name of Tom Santos put together this little list of the MAGA strategy, and let me just read it for you. He says, and this was, by the way, he put this out like over a week ago. He says, if you were not paying attention during the 2020 election, it is a template for how 2024 will go. Here is how the MAGA strategy plays out. 1, flood social media with biased polls paid for by the GOP. 2, use those polls to claim Trump is winning. 3, label Trump's opponent as incompetent and downright stupid. 4, declare victory weeks before the actual election, asserting that a Trump win is, quote, inevitable. 5, and he says this is where we are at right now, begin lying about voter fraud and cheating a couple weeks before the election during early voting. 6, ramp up voter fraud allegations on election morning without any proof. 7, lose the election, then claim it was rigged. 8, launch empty legal challenges and maybe even attack America if all else fails to stop certification. 9, spend the next 4 years crying about losing. And Tom writes, bookmark it. It is happening again. And like clockwork, that's exactly what is happening right now. Donald Trump is now calling for the prosecution of officials in Pennsylvania claiming cheating when there is none. Donald Trump writing on his social media app, we caught them cheating big in Pennsylvania, must announce and prosecute now. This is a criminal violation of the law. Stop voter fraud. Check out Kamala's new sleazebag lawyer. We are on them all this time. Who would have ever thought that our country is so corrupt? We are seeing right now Donald Trump laying the groundwork to contest the election when he loses, and he is also laying the groundwork here to try to prosecute his political opponents if he were to win. This is dangerous territory, and once again, it's exactly the kind of behavior we saw in 2020. Donald Trump is now defending himself from accurate accusations by Vice President Kamala Harris that he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Donald Trump is now acting like he's for the Affordable Care Act, like he's for Obamacare. I mean, give me a break. Here's what Donald Trump said. He writes, Lion Kamala is giving a news conference now saying that I want to end the Affordable Care Act. I never mentioned doing that, never even thought about such a thing. She also said I want to end Social Security, likewise never mentioned it or thought of it. She is the one that wants to end Social Security, and she will do it by putting the millions of migrants coming into our country into it. Kamala is a liar. Everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie. It's made up fiction, and she's doing it because she's losing and losing big. More projection from Donald Trump. And you got to remember, as president, Trump fought to repeal the Affordable Care Act via legislation, undo regulations via executive action, and get rid of it via the Supreme Court. Last month, he called the Affordable Care Act lousy and said we are going to replace it. And he continues to criticize it to this day. And you could even just look at Donald Trump's website literally right now. He has this section which says healthcare reform to make America great again. And when you read it, what does it say? But none of these positive reforms can be accomplished without Obamacare repeal. On day one of the Trump administration, we will ask Congress to immediately deliver a full repeal of Obamacare. Oh, and by the way, if that wasn't enough, here's a picture of Trump and his MAGA loyalists while Trump was in the White House, laughing and having a good old time after they passed a bill to repeal Obamacare in 2017. We are lucky that that went nowhere thanks to John McCain's famous thumbs down, his no vote. And other Republicans aren't trying to hide the fact that they want to kill Obamacare. We saw Mike Johnson in a leaked video speak about wanting to take a blowtorch to Obamacare and a blowtorch to all these government programs that people rely upon and these regulations that keep Americans healthy and safe. Senator Mike Lee, a Republican, responded to that, writing, "Kill Obamacare now." I don't think that really is up for interpretation as to what they want to do. And Donald Trump couldn't even help himself just a few hours after sending those posts. Donald Trump at one of his rallies yesterday said that the Affordable Care Act stinks and is not good, hinting at his plan to rip away health care from tens of millions of Americans.
She says, I want to end Obamacare, affordable health, okay? No, I never said that. I fixed it. I made it good, but it still stinks, okay? If we got something better, I would do it. If it was less expensive, it's too expensive and it's not a very good form of health care.
Trump then announced at his rally that he wants to put vaccine denier RFK Jr. in charge of women's health.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. we have. And he's going to work on health and women's health and all of the different reasons, because we're not really a wealthy or a healthy country.
And just to give you a little bit more information on RFK and this idea of Donald Trump putting RFK in charge of women's health, RFK Jr.'s ex-wife committed suicide after she found his diary, where he chronicled in explicit details his affairs with 37 different women. So this is who Donald Trump is viewing as an expert on women's health. Also, RFK Jr. has said during his failed presidential run that he would sign a national abortion ban into law. This kook is who Donald Trump wants to put in charge of your health, of women's health in America. It's one of the most dangerous things that I feel like not enough people are even speaking about. Vice President Kamala Harris responded to this on social media, simply writing, "No," with a heart next to it. Speaking of RFK Jr., he posted this image yesterday. It's him and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Elon Musk wearing cowboy hats, and it says Thug Life on it. As MeidasTouch editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski wrote, "I don't want these weirdos in charge of nearly every aspect of our lives." Trump wants to put the guy who posted this in charge of public health and the food supply. And as Donald Trump continues to panic, he is doing the most desperate moves imaginable. Donald Trump filed this bizarre $10 billion suit, yeah, that's billion with a B, against CBS because they didn't air the raw footage of Vice President Kamala Harris's interview, the interview on 60 Minutes that Donald Trump refused to participate in after initially agreeing to it. And if you read this lawsuit, it is one of the single most deranged lawsuits you will ever read in your life. They are just very hateful towards Kamala Harris. It is just written in the most bizarre way imaginable. Basically, Donald Trump just wants a headline, but this is a sign of what Donald Trump wants to do if he were to become president. He wants to go after any of his opposition. He wants to go after any news networks who cover him critically. Donald Trump at his rally yesterday was also saying that not only CBS, but CBS and ABC should both lose their licenses to be on TV.
So we sued them today, and I think CBS should lose its license, but I think ABC should lose its license also because of what they've done. We'll see. It's a hard one for them to explain. Well,
Trump also said that he wants to sue the Kamala Harris campaign for pointing out accurately that over 140 of his own staffers are behind Project 2025.
She talks about Project 2025 all the time. I have nothing to do with it. I've said it every way possible. I even said to a very good lawyer, am I allowed to sue them for continuously? We put it in writing. We said to...
And now Donald Trump draining support from the Latino community after those remarks were made at his rally in Madison Square Garden. Trump flew to New Mexico, a state that he has no chance of winning, and he admitted to the crowd that he is only there to try to help his credentials with the Hispanic or Latino community, just admitting that he is there to pander. Watch.
So I'm here for one simple reason. I like you very much, and it's good for my credentials with the Hispanic or Latino community.
That reminds me of the time Trump was in Wisconsin and said point blank, I don't care about you, I just want your vote. Donald Trump was then spreading election disinformation at that rally in New Mexico, saying that they won it twice, even though Donald Trump lost New Mexico by about 8 percentage points in 2016 and lost it by about 11 percentage points in 2020. Just so much lying here.
We almost won it twice. And let me tell you, I believe we won it twice, okay? You want to know the truth.
And if you thought the Trump meltdown ended there, well, think again. Trump was on a social media app lashing out against Mark Cuban, who has been out there being a very effective surrogate for Vice President Kamala Harris. Donald Trump writing, Mark Cuban, a really dumb guy who thinks he's hot stuff and he's absolutely nothing, is now out there saying that I don't surround myself with strong women. Actually, he is very wrong. I surround myself with the strongest of women, with the understanding that all women are great, whether strong or not strong. This guy is such a fool. He's constantly on television being critical, blah, 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 blah. I mean, he goes on and on and on. And speaking of the women that Donald Trump surrounds himself with, Lara Trump was on Fox yesterday saying that the left was being driven crazy, so crazy by Donald Trump driving in a garbage truck and wearing a garbage truck driver's uniform. And she said it was amazing and that the American people, they actually want a lot more of this, not less of it.
And I think it's really amazing to see how outraged they were with Donald Trump in a garbage truck driving to a rally in Wisconsin. People absolutely love this, and it's driving them crazy on the left, and they want more of that, not less.
That's the head of the Republican Party for you. Tim Walz was very funny yesterday and very effective. He was in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and he was speaking about Donald Trump nearly falling while he was trying to get into that garbage truck. Watch this.
Now look, this dude's nearly 80 years old. He damn near killed himself getting into a garbage truck. You would think over 80 years you would understand how a tariff works. Smarter people than Donald Trump, which is a good chunk of folks, CEOs of companies like Black & Decker, AutoZone, and Columbia have gone on the record to say if Donald Trump goes forward with this plan, they will simply have to raise prices and pass it on to you. Donald Trump saying China will pay for those tariffs the same way Mexico paid for the wall. It's not going to happen.
By the way, now you have Trump and his supporters trying to own the libs. Their whole campaign is, how could we own the libs no matter how ridiculous they look? And because Joe Biden called the speaker at Donald Trump's event, who called Puerto Rico trash because Joe Biden called him trash, they are saying that Joe Biden says that all MAGA supporters are trash. And Joe Biden now literally has Trump supporters walking around wearing garbage bags. I mean, this is what we have come to at this point. I guess it's better than them wearing diapers, or maybe they have the diapers underneath the garbage bags. I don't know, but just whatever, keep being weird. It just turns off the American people anytime they do these stunts, and it's just so utterly bizarre. Tim Walz also remarked on the comments that Donald Trump made, saying, I'm going to do it whether the women are gonna like it or not. Those creepy comments made by Donald Trump the other night. Listen to what Tim Walz had to say.
Those women you're thinking about right now have fewer rights than their mothers or their grandmothers had. That's what he did. Now 20 states have the Trump abortion ban. Last night, Donald Trump said that if you're a woman, he'll be your protector. And he also said this. Imagine that this was a moment of self-reflection for him. He says, I know a lot of people don't like that. Oh, no shit, they don't like it. But here's the scary part, people, because there's no excuse for not hearing this, because he said it. He said, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. That's how this guy's lived his life. That's why he was on the Access Hollywood tape, and that's why he ended up in court, because that's what he thinks about. Women turned away now because of what he's doing from emergency rooms to get basic care, having miscarriages in parking lots, survivors of rape and incest being forced to carry their attacker's child.
And Vice President Harris, who held multiple events yesterday all throughout the country, also addressed those statements by Donald Trump. Here's what she had to say.
And Donald Trump's not done. Did anybody hear what he had to say just yesterday? And I'll tell you, it was outrageous. So he said on the issue of freedom of choice, reproductive freedom, he said that he will do what he wants because, quote, this is his perspective, he will do it whether the women like it or not. Whether the women like it or not. Can you imagine? And this is not the first time he has told us. He does not believe women should have authority or agency over their own bodies. This is the same person who said that women should be punished for their choices And what we know is we know what we are seeing. This is someone who simply does not respect the freedom of women or the intelligence of women to make decisions about their own lives. And we know that what he has planned includes a national abortion ban, restricting access to birth control, putting IVF treatments at risk, and forcing states to monitor women's pregnancies. You don't have to take my word for it. Google Project 2025.
Then you had Trump campaign surrogate Rudy Giuliani doubling down on these offensive comments about immigrants in our country, saying that they, quote, shouldn't have been taken out of the jungle. So gross.
They lived back 200 years ago. They just shouldn't have been taken out of the jungle and placed in the middle of a small town America. That's ridiculous. Or big town America, for that matter.
And by the way, speaking of Donald Trump's outreach to minorities in the United States of America, we did our own research. We did our investigative reporting, and we identified that 15 of the 16 quote-unquote random black voters in a recent Trump campaign ad who supposedly just decided to support him are actually longtime Republican operatives, candidates, and paid influencers. And even NBC News featured this ad in a story, and they did not acknowledge that these were literally MAGA operatives. Well, we found out. You could read this story at MeidasNews.com. So check that out. It's just another scam by Donald Trump. And here's another crazy story that is just breaking. Here's from the Daily Beast. Epstein showed me photos of Trump with topless young women sitting in his lap, claims author. This is a bombshell story speaking about Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And I want to be clear here that when he says topless young women, those are young girls who Donald Trump had on his lap, topless, allegedly, per this Daily Beast story. We're going to do a longer piece on this because this needs to be reported on in depth. I'm not going to get into all the details here, but wow, wow, wow. And that's where we are, folks, with just a few days until Election Day. You can feel a complete and total vibe shift. You can feel the Trump campaign totally scrambling right now. I have not seen them this panicked all election cycle, and I think they are just worrying as more and more voter data comes in. And as more data comes in, you know that we will be here to report on it every step of the way. So what I need to do right now, number one thing to do, vote. Get out to the polls and vote, vote, vote. Make sure that all of your friends and family members who are pro-democracy are voting. Next, here's what I need you to do. Subscribe to this channel. Help us get to 3.5 million subscribers. The more subscribers we have, the more people we're able to reach. And remember to share these videos with your friends and family. We have a lot of great merch also at store.MeidasTouch.com. Make sure to check all that out. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you soon.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.